Lilo, hi. Are you having fun? Can you spot the rabbit? Hi, sweetie. What are we doing, Mother?
We taking out some old stuff, some clutter, things from. You say this one?
No. So I'm editing my thumbnail right now. So what I do is that I insert all these images, I put the saturation up, and then I remove the background. Then I import the picture onto my iPad. I use Procreate, and I make the white thing, the outline. Okay, now I've added the faded background, and I'm just about to make the crayon border. Okay, I'm done. I'm just gonna import it back into the computer and add the text. And that's the end result. Ta-da! Heyo! It's a new day! Woo! Whenever I have a new day, I don't even know where this comes from, but I try to tell myself, today is a day I've never seen before, and that's so exciting. I've never lived this day before, it's gonna be a new day, okay. I'm not this happy, but I'm happier than yesterday, and that's why we're celebrating. The Instagram challenge for today, I'll insert the picture that I posted. I already had it on my phone. I've been planning to post it for a while, and it just fit the prompt so well. So I'm super excited that I don't need to worry about the Instagram because I've spent a lot of time like fixing the Instagram challenges in past days up until now, and then this one I got in the bag, and I actually like the picture a lot. So I have the whole day to read, so we're just gonna read today. Every now and then, in a burst of health, his father would leave the farmhouse. One day, when he returned from an hour of chat at the neighbor's kitchen table, he found Einar. Small at age 7, in the drawers, the amber beads twisted around his throat, a yellow decked scarf on his head like a long, beautiful hair. His father's face turned red, and his eyes seemed to sink into his skull. Einar could hear the angry rattle of his father's breath in his throat. "You can't do that," his father said. "Little boys can't do that." And little Einar replied, "But why not?" His father died when Einar was 14. I liked it. So, you know, in my previous vlog, I picked up my frame for the puzzle and everything, and this is the parallel street to the street where I picked up the puzzle framed. Isn't that so cool? Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit about these two books. So this one, I only read 20 pages, so I'm 50 pages into this one. And I think I'm about halfway through The Dark Forest. Finally, there are some chapters. I really wish, I read this book, and for me, this is a middle book syndrome type of book. It should have been edited a lot. I wish this was as short as the first one. I think you could cut down at least 100 pages. I wish there was more character development because there's a lot of characters here and they're all special, but there's just not enough like time invested into really developing them so that we care when they like die or something, you know? So I really wish that was spent more time in. I wish there was better respect for women in this. It's not that it's like outright sexist, but it just feels like a secondary thought. The first one, there was a lot of female scientists, characters that I really enjoyed. This one, there are this cast or this group of characters and scientists that are basically supposed to, they hold the fate of the world in their palm, and they're all like older men. And I wish there was like some, at least like try, you know what I mean, like just a little bit. I wish that there was some sort of timeline because I have no idea, like really no idea when this is taking place in like Earth years. It is being counted in like a countdown to when something happens. I won't spoil that because that's the spoiler. It's like light years away, you know, so it's not something I can understand the concept of. I do really like how this is so educational, but both this one and the previous book, like I've learned a lot about science, I've learned a lot about Chinese history. This one not so much Chinese history, it's more the first one, but but in this one they go into a lot of science-y stuff, which is something I really like about science fiction. The only thing is I know a lot of science from reading science fiction, and I just don't know how much is like actual science or science that they just skip the scientific method on in the book and they try to make it fit whatever they want the conclusion of, because I mean science fiction is a lot about fiction, you know, like they're using it, the authors are using it to try and think and speculate what happens in the future, how this type of technology or science could be used, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's possible, and I just don't have the information to know whether something is true, and I feel like I take it as truth and I like build upon it. Something I learned from this one that I thought was really cool was how they classify suns, how the first number is how many light years away it is, and then the second letter is like what type of planets they have in the solar system. So it's like J is like for Jupiter-like planets, and then the number after is how many planets there are, and then E is for like Earth planets, and then how many Earth planets there are, and X is like for other planets. And I thought that type of information and classification, something I actually learned, is like really, really cool to learn about, but I also don't know if it's true because it's science fiction. But if it's true, this book is very like educational in many ways. I wish it wasn't so slow, like it's a lot of speculation, nothing happens. I think it's about to pick up. There is one more actual chapter coming up, ooh. But then the next part is called The Dark Forest, which is the actual name of the book. This one I think I'm going to talk more about later because it is written by someone who's not trans, and I just read this post and shared this post on Instagram talking about that it's not good that non-trans people, like cis people play trans characters in TV. And I mean, our good friend here, this guy who I think is a fabulous actor, and I think he did a good job with the role. I'm obviously more invested into the trans community now than I was when I saw the movie. It should have been played by a trans person rather than a cis actor. But this book is written by a cis man, you know? So I think, should this book even be so popular? Of all the trans books out there, like with trans history, should this one be the most popular because it's written by someone who isn't trans? Although there's like spectrums to things, right? Like I think a cis person can understand trans identities and they can understand identity, and our main character, our author is gay, so, or queer at least. I don't know exactly how he identifies, but I mean, I think there's a lot of gay people who can relate at least to trans people. So I won't overrule that this shouldn't have been written because it's by a cis man, but I think it's definitely an important and interesting thing to discuss, and I'll talk more about it when I finish it. This was a long discussion, but I felt like I need to get some things out. I haven't read that much. I only read like max 40 pages on this today, but I'm gonna take a break because I've had coffee and I can't read and I can't focus. It is currently almost 4 o'clock.
More to herself than anyone else, she said she wouldn't know if she got hacked. The video to anyone? Josepha kept pressing. Record scratch. Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got in this position. People made comments like, but we aren't ready to speak to you yet. Please respect our transition. I want... That man has glasses. Friend the knitted sweater before backing out and leaning against the living room doorframe. Welcome back to WNFT. You're probably wondering where Lainey is right now, Misty said. Could you have ever foreseen this happening when you called in Mira late that night? It would only be a matter of time. Lady turned.
I have like a obsession with highlighter match the book because there's only one color in here, that's red. I have to have a red highlighter. Like, I could not pick the closest highlighter I have. Okay, I wanted to talk a little bit about this because I've heard a lot of people not know what it is. So basically I just read the introduction because there's a couple of texts introducing what this is and how it came about. And Raoul Peck talks about how the movie and this book came to be. I haven't watched this movie, so I can't speak on that. But basically after James Baldwin died, Raoul visited his sister, and his sister gave him all these documents of things that James had written different types of text, different types of speeches, all these kind of writings, and along with that, like news clippings and pictures and all that. So this is like a collection of those writings, and those writings also became the movie that is like the main thing that Roald made. But this is kind of the original work, but it was completely, what's it called, published, there we go. It was published after the movie was released, so it's going to be interesting to read the original text before seeing the movie, when that was the way it was created, but everyone else who's seen the movie see the original material afterward, if that makes sense. I think, oh my god, this has been in way too long. I'm gonna watch it. Hi, it's done. It's a bit orange here, because it was a bit orange afterwards. I think the lady in the store told me this type of pink is gonna become faded really quick. I'm okay with that. I like orange. I guess we're trying this now. I never had a hair color that's like split down the middle, like Harley Quinn style. So that's cool. I like it. I'm not all over it. I'm not like, whoa, this is awesome, but I like it. I finished the audiobook for Such a Fun Age. I'm very glad that I read it or listened to it. I feel like Amira was such a great character to follow. I really loved her. I felt like she was, I don't understand, like, the thing is, she's a babysitter and she's also a typist, and she types very quickly, and she's in her mid-20s, and somehow she meets these two characters, Kelly, who is this man, and her babysitter mother, Elix, and both of them have this idea of, like, white savior complex embedded in them, but they both exhibit it in very different ways, but they both try to help her, and they try to improve her, and she doesn't really need to be improved. Like, she's like exactly where she's supposed to be. Like, yeah, she's in her mid-20s, maybe she's a bit lost, but like that's normal, you know? Like, if you're not lost in your mid-20s, what are you doing? No, I'm just kidding. If you figure shit out, good for you. But I feel like that's so normal, and that's fine, and like I don't understand why I do understand why they wanted to get so involved with her life, like, but yeah, I think Amira was just such a great character, and I really liked the representation between these two different characters, how they interacted with Amira, and I appreciate this book a lot. I've never read this type of concept, and I've never read anything that exhibits white savior complex in this way, which I think was really fantastic. There's one part that really stood out to me, and that's when Elix has the Thanksgiving party, I think, and she says to herself, or she thinks that she's proud of herself because there's 5 black people at her party. And I was like, oh no, Elix, what are you doing? And I guess that was like the most shocking moment, that people are like proud when they interact with, like, when they're racism, when they're an anti-racist for the wrong reasons, they're like, it's like self-serving, you know? And I mean, I had this discussion before, if everything we do is self-serving, in like I mean, that's a discussion in itself, like, if everything we do is self-serving, then I think there's no way not to have white savior complex, in the ally community. It is hard, because I think that all of these outside of yourself problems, it all has to do with self-love, and if you don't love yourself, then I think it's hard to avoid white savior complex. I think it's so deep that this book is a good way of showing, like, such obvious examples and such introduction to this type of behavior. But I think that this is embedded in all white people very deeply, and I think it's hard to avoid small traits that these characters have, no matter how much you think you're like an anti-racist and an ally. I think you can be both, but I think it's hard to completely go away from that. I'm not saying that because I'm like, I know I have all these examples, but I think there's no way to have self-love without doing unconditional things for each other, for other people. And I don't think all people who are allies or anti-racist love themselves, because I think that's the hardest thing in the world we live in right now. So that was a rant. This video is gonna be so long because I go on so many rants, but I am trying to learn, and I'm trying to experience these books, because I feel like that's the best way for me to learn, and it's really powerful when you listen to it on audiobook. So that was great. glad I read it. Thank you, The Reading Rush, for making me read it. Yeah, I'm gonna walk my rabbits now. Oh my god, you're so desperate. I promise I'm feeding them properly. Hi, sweetie.
Okej, vi ruschar på då.
Sa du det för att det heter The Reading Rush?
Jaha. Vi skramtar på vi.
Oj! Nej!
Vad var det? Vad gör du?
Tänkte läsa på magen. Det blir så här träsmak i rumpan.
Ja. Hej gumman, hej!
Year 20, crisis era. I'm sorry, love. I've aged 8 years. Okay, I'm done with whatever I need to read in this one. I'm a little bit past half point. It's definitely picking up all the small science elements or that's been so scattered throughout the book and slow are coming together, sort of. So I'm happy about that. I still have 30 pages left in The Danish Girl.
I'm just love chatting with you all. But in about maybe like 1 or 2 minutes, we're going to start reading. So what I need you to do is get your snack.
You ready for your reading,
your
Brenda?
drink, Get your...
Okay, 30 more pages. I got my book, my annotation stuff, fuel, reading fuel, and a reading buddy. Yay, we made it. Good job, guys. I finished the 100 pages that I will for this one today. I am liking it. The representation, I don't know about it. I'll talk about it tomorrow. But it's definitely interesting. I really like the relationship between Greta and Einar. I think it's super interesting. So I'm gonna sleep now. I've been talking a lot today. I'm like so excited for the pillow, the bed, just like listening, falling asleep to audiobooks, brushing my teeth, pillow. I'm excited. It's almost 1 o'clock, so yeah. Happy reading, everyone. Bye.